in having a staking pool smart contract, or you want to run like a staking business, basically. So the idea here is that, multiple people can deposit Ether into this smart contract, and it can be migrated to the Beacon chain to run an Ethereum validator, okay? So I'm going to show you how to do that in this video. So you can do this one of the two ways. You can just deploy the contract itself, or you can get this full-fledged website in order to kind of bootstrap your own staking business. And the whole idea is that you would build on top of this. So this would be the starter kit for that business, and you could turn this into something more robust. So, full disclaimer as always, there's a liability disclaimer. I'm going to show you how to do this on the test network as always in this video. You want to do it on the test network before you do it on the Ethereum mainnet. And the last thing is this particular smart contract is not audited. Okay, so that's another liability disclaimer. If you're going to do this on the mainnet, I highly recommend auditing these smart contracts before you deposit real funds into them. Okay, so just so you're 100% aware of that before we move on. So go ahead and grab the code. I'll put that in the resources down below. Okay, I'm gonna actually go ahead and make a note of that. So let's see here. So grab that code. Go ahead and open it in your terminal of choice like this. Okay. So this will be the project. So you need to install a few dependencies before we get started here. The first dependency that you need is Node.js. So this is going to give you a way to run JavaScript on your computer. And it's also going to let you install the project-specific dependencies with NPM. So I'm using Node version 10.5.0. Okay. You can check to see if you have Node already installed on your computer by going, let's see here, Node-V. Okay. So I'm using 10.5.0. You can install Node with a package manager like Homebrew, or you can just download it from the Node.js website directly. But I would recommend using the same version as me. You can try it with a newer version, older version, but if you want to make sure it works perfectly, then use the same version as me, okay? So the next the next dependency is Truffle. So this is a framework for creating smart contracts, putting them in a blockchain. Yeah, that's what we're going to use to create the staking smart contract in this particular tutorial, okay? And you can go to your terminal and see if you have Truffle installed by saying Truffle, the version. Let's see what this says here. If you don't have it, it'll probably say Truffle's not found, but I'm using Truffle version 5.1.39. So you can install it like this, npm install --g, which stands for global, Truffle at version 5.1.39. So I've already done this, so I'm not going to do it again. And then next, you need MetaMask, okay? So MetaMask is an Ethereum wallet for Google Chrome. You can just download it and make sure that the Fox icon is here in your top right-hand corner, that you have an account. You probably did this already if you watched the last video, but I just want to make sure you got MetaMask installed. And lastly is a connection to a blockchain. So we're going to use the Goerli test network in this video, so we'll probably just use Alchemy again. There should be a link down below to sign up for Alchemy. This will allow you to connect to the test network so you can deploy your smart contract to it and use it for real, okay? And the last thing that you need is a GitHub account. So this is going to let you host your project. You'll need one of these accounts in order to let's see here, in order to do that. So go to github.com, make sure that you sign up, because you'll need to create a repository later. All right, so that's all the dependencies. Go ahead and open the code for your project, okay? And you can see it right here, all right? And now what we want to do is go ahead and install all the project dependencies with npm. So do npm install. All right, I've already done this. Whenever you finish, you should see some output that looks like, this. You might see some warnings, that's okay. But as long as you see a success message at the end, your dependencies have successfully installed, okay? So now I'm gonna go ahead and open this up in my code editor. I'm using Sublime Text. You can use whatever text editor you like, but let's just see here. So we've got some files in here. We have a truffle-config file. Okay, this is how we're going to talk to the blockchain. All right, so basically this wires our project to the blockchain. We've got this package.json file where all our dependencies are. We've got a env file, okay, to put the project on the blockchain, okay, and then we've got the source directory for the contracts and also the front end website. So let's see here. Backend contracts, ETH staking pool. So this is the smart contract, and this is the contract that we want to use to do the staking pool. So I want to go ahead and deploy this to the blockchain before we go through all the code explanation and everything. I want to get this thing set up so you guys can see it in action really fast, and then we'll go over a code review and talk about what it does. Okay. So same thing for the front end website. We'll explain how that works momentarily. Okay. So let's just see here. Let's see this .env.example file. So we can go ahead and copy this and create a .env file. Okay. So this is going to basically let us store the secrets for our application. So you can copy these and then put it here. Okay. So to save that. And what you want to do is actually fill out your real private key. So you want to go to MetaMask and basically find your account that's connected to the Goerli test network, and then go to account details, and then reveal private key or export private key. And you want to copy that. So of course I'm not going to do it on screen right now, and you don't want to share your private key with anybody else, but you'll put your private key inside these quotation marks right here, okay? So the next thing you want to do is, let's just change this to project ID. And you want to put your Alchemy project ID inside of here, okay? So you set that up earlier whenever you set up your validator, so you should be able to use the same project ID to deploy the smart contract there. Okay, so we'll go to the package. Let's try the truffle config file. So inside of here, you'll see the private keys are used here, and that's where we basically use the private key to basically talk to the blockchain. So it looks like we need a network configuration for Goerli inside of here. So we'll change that here momentarily. You should see that live whenever you pull this code down to the masterclass. But yeah, here's where your private keys come into play. You need this private key to sign the transaction in order to deploy the smart contract, and then you also need the project ID for Alchemy in order to put your smart contract on the network. So let's go ahead and change this file to reflect those things, and we'll deploy it. All right, so I have updated this, all right, to support the Goerli test network. So I've added the Alchemy URL here so you can use your Alchemy provider, and then of course we've updated our .env file with the private keys, and we're supporting the Goerli testnet with the network ID of 5. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and let's just see here, deploy the contracts. So we already have a script to do that. We have the ETH staking pool migration script, so we can try to run the migrations like this. Let's say truffle migrate -- network Goerli. Make sure I spelled that right. I'm not even sure I'm pronouncing it right. I hear it different ways. It's got the umlauts over the O, so I don't really know how you say that in English. All right, so let's see what happens here. Hopefully this is successful. We may have to change some things if it's not, but let's just take a look and see here. All right, and so now our contract has been deployed to the network. So let's go ahead and boot up the front-end website. All right, we'll say npm run start. Let's just make sure that it works. We're going to put this live on the web, but I want to just do a local test first before we do that. Make sure things set up properly. So you see your web browser pop up here. That'll show you this staking website. All right, here it is. So before we put this live on the web, yeah, we need to commit it and open up a GitHub repository, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to create a GitHub repository that'll host this, and then we'll come back to this in a minute. We'll actually use it. We'll demo it. I want to get it live on the web first, and then we'll explain how everything works. So what you want to do is go to your, let's see here, your GitHub, all right, and click this plus icon up here, and you have a page that'll be called Create Repository. So let's just call it staking website. You can call it ETH staking. You can say whatever you want to, okay? I'll make it private for now, all right, and then click Create Repository. And then you want to add this as a remote repository. So you can do like this, git remote add origin. Okay, so I've already done this, so I'm going to skip this step for now. Okay, and then you want to push your project up like this. You say git push branch -m -main, and then git push -u origin main. All right, and that will push your project up, and whenever it does, you'll see your code listed there. All right, so now let's see here. Now that you have pushed your code up here, we can deploy this to the web. So we're using something called Fleek. So Fleek is a hosting website where you can deploy directly to IPFS. You can deploy it to the web straight from your GitHub. Okay, so you can just go to fleek.co, click sign up with GitHub. It'll connect to your GitHub account. And whenever you do, you should see a dashboard that looks like this. Of course, I've got some projects here, but you should see no projects. You can click add new site. All right, and then connect to GitHub. I'm going to choose my personal repository here. So let's see here. I'm going to re-auth my GitHub here. So 1 second. I'll do it off screen. If you can't see yours, you should be able to choose your GitHub account. Sorry, let's see here. I'm doing this off screen. You guys can't see what I'm doing. That's okay. So you'll auth your GitHub, and you'll say, like, you know, I have only select repositories selected, so you can do select repositories. I'll do that off screen here, and then staking. You can search for the specific repository that you want to do. I'm going to do staking website. All right, and then click save. And then now we're being redirected back. We are authorized. And yeah. I'm going to go back to my personal profile here, do staking website. Okay, so we're going to use the main branch. Frameworks, we're going to use Create React App. And then, yeah, let's click Deploy Site. And this should deploy it live to the web. We can even get an IPFS link and everything. So I'll come back momentarily whenever this is finished. We'll check on this. And, yeah, our staking website should be live on the web. All right, so whenever it's finished, you should see a link here, and you can just copy this link, paste it into your browser, and, see your website here, okay? So let me show you how it works. So basically, the whole idea is that this is a starter kit for you to create your own, like, template version of a staking website. You definitely build off this. So, you have some section that's like, hey, here's the benefit. You can earn 4 to 22% APY by staking your ETH. And then you have a deadline. All right, you can change this deadline in the code. I'll show you where in a minute. And so currently we're holding 0 ETH, but we need 32 in order to run a validator. So it shows the contract balance, and then basically they need 32 minimum during this time period, to stake. So they click stake now. They get a risk warning. You know what I mean? Yeah, I understand the risks, all that kind of stuff. Click I understand. How much ETH would you like to stake? Of course, you can stake less than 32. So let's just say 1 for now. And then, so let's change accounts here. All right, so I'll switch to my account with some ETH, and also, I'm connected to the Goerli test network. So let's click stake now, do it again. Click I understand. Let's do 1 ETH for now. Okay. And then I'm going to up the gas price here to 50 Gwei just to make things fast. Click confirm. Let's see the transaction. Let's look at it on Etherscan here. Wait for this to finish. Should see some. Okay, so I got a MetaMask confirmation. All right, let's take a look here. And then boom, there we go. All right, so the contract balance now has 1 ETH. All right, and to get to the first batch of 32 ETH, I need 31 ETH. Okay, so this is like a status meter. You could stake more, you'll see this balance go up. The whole idea is you have to run this in increments of, batches of 32 Ether, because you need a minimum of 32 Ether in order to, stake, and you need exactly 32 Ether to run a validator, no more, no less. So let's kind of dig into the internals of how this works in the contract to see, how people do this. So let's look at the contract here. So backend contracts, e-staking pool. So what it does is basically we have a function here that lets people send Ether to the contract, okay? So that's what this is here, this receive function. This is basically just a function that gets run inside Solidity whenever someone sends Ether to a smart contract. So basically, if I open my MetaMask address and paste in the address of this smart contract on the network, this is the function that gets run. So basically what it does is it keeps track of their balance, and it increases it from the Ether that came in with MSG.value. So I'm not going to go over all the nuances and details of the Solidity inside this video because there's not really a course on how to write Solidity code. I mean, that's what the Blockchain Bootcamp is for, so definitely check that out with the link down in the description if you want the step-by-step instructions on how to code. But basically, we have a balances mapping here it gets incremented anytime someone deposits new Ether, okay? So this is only available before the deadline, okay? So we have a deadline here in the code, so block timestamp plus 30 days. So whenever you deploy the contract, we by default do a 30-day deadline. You could change this to 10 days, 5 days, whatever you want to, okay? You could do a manual deadline here with a Unix timestamp just like this. Let's see here. What else? We need to make sure it's not finalized. Okay, so we have modifiers here that says, like before deadline, after deadline, not finalized. Basically, we finalize the deadline whenever we have enough. Okay. So we restrict some of these functions to certain people. So for example, the deposit function is how we move the Ether to the deposit contract. So we say only owner can do this. So the owner is the person who called the smart contract or deployed the smart contract. That's msg.sender, okay, whenever the contract is deployed. So here's the owner right here. Okay. So that's the flow. Basically, it receives Ether. The contract holds the Ether balance so that it can be deposited here, okay? So what happens basically if but what happens if we have extra Ether, right? So like I said, we need a minimum of 32, but we need more than if we have like 33, then there's like leftover in the contract. Well, once the deadline's passed, anybody can finalize this, okay? And basically, we calculate the leftover, all right? And then anybody can claim their leftover. So basically, if you had leftover amount, then you can withdraw it to yourself, okay? So basically, we take your leftover and say, hey, if I had any ETH left over, just send it back to me. That's how it works, okay? So then the owner, if it's finalized and it works, then they can talk to the ETH deposit contract that we did in the last section. We sent Ether to it manually from our MetaMask from the ETH Launchpad. Well, basically, I've taken that deposit contract address and put it here, okay? And we're going to call the deposit function, which is the exact function that we use whenever we move to the beacon chain. We code in the amount, which is 32 Ether, and we give it some arguments, okay, here. And then, yeah, it just migrates it and activates our validator. So what data do you need to put in there? Well, this is the exact data that we created in the other video whenever we uploaded it to the Launchpad website. So let me just find mine off screen here. Give me 1 second. I had a copy of the JSON file. Let me just open it here. So basically, you'll find all this information inside of here. Here's the public key for the validator, right? Here's the withdrawal credentials. I'm not going to reveal all this on the screen, but this is that deposit data that you created when you're validator. So you'll take all that information, which you'll see in that JSON file, and you add it here as argument to call this function. So how could you do that? Well, you could verify your contract on Etherscan as the owner, and then basically pass those arguments in there, and then just call that function manually that way. You could write a script inside of Truffle to do it, and just talk to your contract directly, and then call that function that way. But that's how it would work, okay? So that's the basics on how this smart contract works. Let's look at the website itself. So the website is here. So let's see here, components, yeah, source components, so app.js. So this is a React.js website. If you've been into the blockchain bootcamp, this would look really familiar because you know, we use React, and we use Redux inside of here. So basically, we have a function inside of here to load the blockchain data. Basically, we connect to window.ethereum for with MetaMask, all right? And then we have a main component, okay, which basically is that first page that we saw, okay? And then all these are the subcomponents. So again, I'm not going to do a complete code review on this particular application. Like I said, if you've been inside the boot camp, this should look really familiar to you. But the other thing to notice is that we're using Redux, which is what allows us to store our data on the client side from the blockchain. So you can see that inside of here with the interactions.js, all that kind of stuff, okay? The reducers, right? So like I said, if you've been in the boot camp, this is all look really familiar, and this is a great way to understand like how you can take some of that boot camp knowledge and apply it to a different project like this, okay? So let's see. The last thing to go over while we're here is how to change the deadline. So let's just search for that. I forgot where that was. Let's just find it here. All right. Let's just let's look at the website. Let's say staking. Staking closes at. So now you can basically change the deadline here. So you could change, you know, whatever date you want to. So February 27th, 2021. All right, here's your date countdown component that keeps track of all that kind of stuff, okay? So that's where you would change that. So the last thing I would say is, again, this is a one-way street. This contract is not audited, so there are definitely risks involved here. You know, definitely do this on a test network before you decide to do it for real. Get comfortable with that before you accept any real funds. If you're going to try to actually turn this into a bootstrap business, you want to get this audited for sure. So that's my disclaimer warning, you know, all the liabilities on you at this point. But yeah, that is an overview of how you can do pooled staking with a smart contract. And here's your staking website that you can use to get other people to send to it. You can deposit it straight to the deposit contract. So I hope you like this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. All right, so now I want to show you how to set up a staking pool, okay?